the dark, I plant my dreams. Permaculture flows like sweet streams. I'm the daddy with the know-how seed. Creating the world like it's meant to be. Permaculture, P-I-M-P, I'm the king. That's in love in everything. Bringing change, making it last. Join the permaculture on the rooftop under the sun's embrace.
Welcome to episode 319 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, the only pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. Oh, yeah. Well, good to be here with all of you today. Well, all 13 of you so far. I'll explain that one here in a minute. Oh, yeah. This episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from twooldcrowshomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! Living Soil Foundation. All right. Sadly, this isn't going to go out. It's not going to be as widely distributed as I'd like it to be. But anyway, the information, it'll go where it needs to go. So anyway, Living Soil Foundation this Sunday coming up, May 18th at 249 Rollins Road in Marshall, North Carolina. We're going to be having our next iteration of this site that we're working on, the one that we've crossed the finish line on. The one where you could actually lay on the dirt and be okay. I'm not sure I'm ready to call it soil just yet, but it is definitely, we got everything pretty much tied up and we're on the mend out there in a big way. Renewed Homestead's going to be out there, by the way, and they're also handling the chat. So I want to give a hat tip to Renewed Homestead, as always, Denise in particular, and be sure to check out their YouTube channel. They're doing great stuff over there. So, yeah, once again, that's going to be May 18th, 249 Rollins Road, Marshall, North Carolina. So, yeah. Anyway, we're doing big stuff out there, folks, and looking forward to seeing how many people we can get on there. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into it. We'll jump right into the farm news and the big news, actually, because I'm surprised that Denise is in here. I guess Michelle got her squared away. Well, folks, we've been hit with our second strike on YouTube on the permaculture on the Permapastures Farm YouTube channel. If you hear us now, we're on the YouTube channel, which is specifically the Pimpcast, also William's channel, which is Permaculture Consultant, and also live on Rumble. So here's what happened, folks. We've been hit with a second strike. The first one, if you'll remember, if anybody's been around for a while, the first one happened as a result of mentioning a substance that has cured and is curing a lot of people. This time out, folks, I kid you not. We absolutely got hit with our second strike because a guest who was talking about the virtues of silver and products made from it brought up the name of 3 doctors. And I can't even say their names now or they're going to cut this feed. I kid you not. All of these doctors, all 3 of them have been very instrumental in finding, protocols to get you healed from the sweet and sour sniffles. Hopefully everybody can see between the lines on all that. But yeah, I swear I'm not making this up.
He didn't even go into that though, right? He just mentioned their names.
Exactly. All he did was mention their names and talked about how they use his product. And I'm like, no way. I said, Michelle, put in an appeal. She did. And folks, if you've ever been down this road before, they don't answer you immediately, but they did this time. They answered that appeal like within the hour and said, nope, decision's final. Have a nice day. Now, here's what I want to, everything we do on this channel, believe it or not, it's simulcasted on the Permaculture Pimpcast channel as well. So why didn't they flag it there? Folks, I mean, we're being targeted. Yeah, we're being targeted. It's pretty obvious. And so you might want to look at alternative ways to find us, which is either going to be in this channel. William suggested that I start another channel, which I'm thinking about doing exclusively on soil remediation. And then obviously on X, go to Permapastures Farm on X. I'm trying to get a bigger footprint over there. I mean, they have us suppressed over there. We can't even folks, it's so bad right now. I mean, if you only knew the inside baseball from other influencers out there, I hate that term, from other people doing this work, and the slimy, sleazy stuff that goes on, like what they do on even Rumble. Everybody says, go to Rumble. Well, if you'll notice, when Dan Bongino was still on there, you never saw his show interrupted with advertisements, but go there and watch, let's say, the Dollar Vigilante. Watch how many ads they post in there, and they do it at strategic places. So even X, ever since I posted that video of Dr. Will saying what was happening over there and that site was akin to Chernobyl, X basically will not let me broadcast over there, and I'm paying for a premium account. So it's absolutely cold-blooded what they're doing out there, and I'm not complaining. I mean, I'm not complaining in terms of what I expected on YouTube, but X, they went out there saying, oh, Elon Musk is a free speech absolutist and all this stuff. Well, that's not the case. And there's a bunch of them over there. Ask Amazing Polly, ask Mike Adams, ask Dollar Vigilante, good night, man. I mean, the list is long. Christopher Key, he got banned over there because he was exposing what was happening in California. Folks, if you think under this new administration that you're going to get a free press, I want you to consider who was at his inauguration. The very same people that are suppressing all of us right now and don't want you to hear. Like I said, this guy only brought up the names of these doctors, didn't even say what they were doing. You can go back and watch that video. It's regarding silver and what the government doesn't want you to know about it. And I was like, come on, man. I mean, of all the things I've talked about, I mean, I even threw the N-word around multiple times and they didn't flag that. But he named 3 doctors. They will not even consider it. So, moral to the story is, if these doctors, think about this. I mean, Jack Cruz even talked about it too. He was like, the second he started, telling exactly what's going on and what's happening, bam, his YouTube got canceled. So, he can go on other YouTube channels, but obviously he can't host one himself. So, folks, I'm just letting you know, if you think you went into, everybody's out there, oh, party, good times, Trump's in the White House. Like I said, all these same people were at his inauguration. And then he gave him $250 billion, okay, to build more data centers, to make you, to keep you further in the matrix. Go ahead and believe this new version of hope and change all you want, folks. But if anything, it's gotten worse. I'm dead. I mean, as a person who's in this space, I can tell you now that it was better under Biden.
Yeah.
You didn't believe I'm saying it. Son, would you agree?
As far as the suppression and stuff, I would definitely agree. It was easier to get some more of the fringe topics out during when Biden was president and everything. Neil Merrick Blackwood says they don't care about N-words. And like you stated in previous podcasts, Dad, we're all N-words.
Yeah, we all are now. Yeah, see Steve in the house. So folks, that's what happened. That's what they basically got us in a timeout for 2 weeks, so we can't post videos. And it's a shame because I was going to post some really good stuff about what we have going on. Now I'm just going to have to delay it. But I was doing this series on compost and how to fix crappy compost, and I was going to give them the next version of it. Well, I can't show them that flip, so I just had to flip it anyway without capturing it on video. But clearly, like I said, if this was a matter of if this was totally legit, you wouldn't be watching this on the Permaculture Pimpcast channel because it's simulcast on both of them. So
that's a good point. I didn't know that was the case. And I wonder if it has to do with the Pimpcast channel monetized or not.
I don't know. I don't keep up with any of that stuff, man. That's your mom doing all that. But
I wonder if you'd have better luck if you didn't monetize I wonder if they'd restrict you less if you didn't worry about monetizing some of the live streams that go to the podcast. I
don't worry about it now. I mean, it's not like they're paying us anything anyway. I mean, people think, oh, you got almost 170-some thousand subscribers. Well, folks, they suppress us like nobody's business because they don't want you to hear the truth. Worse yet, they don't want you to hear it coming from a brown person, because then all of a sudden, if I were polarized, I would be completely fine. If I were saying I'm left or I'm right, they wouldn't have a problem with that. But the fact that I'm like, oh, I'm calling out the left and right, and I'm telling you that they are all they're all two wings of the same corrupt bird, then all of a sudden that's when they got problems. So, folks, I'm just going to tell you straight. I don't know where. Look, I'm sure they're looking for any reason to bust us. I mean, I'm like, for crying out loud, of all the things in the world, he brought up the name of three doctors. And if you go to my X account, you'll hear the name of one of them. At the time, I only knew it was one, but apparently there were three doctors that were brought up, and they were highly critical in giving you alternatives to the sweet and sour sniffles. And yeah, just bringing up their names will now get you in a timeout. And like I said, son, does it even sound believable that they would consider this thing and get back to us in, I bet it was 20 minutes.
No, because whenever they do those appeals, whenever you appeal like a copyright strike, the first, or not copyright strike, but the first strike, like content strike, the first strike, I'm pretty sure either goes based off like people reporting you or like some of their AI like automatic systems. Now, when you appeal that, that is supposedly a person who actually sits down, watches it, and makes sure that either the strike is valid or invalid. Like it's an actual person. And for them to immediately get back to you, I remember we did this before. I can't remember if it was on your channel or my channel or something, but we did it before, and it took them like at least 24 hours to respond. And then the one I'm thinking of, we actually won the appeal. This was like a couple of years ago. We actually won the appeal. But like it takes a while for that whole thing to happen because it's an actual person that's supposedly reviewing the video.
Within an hour, they said, nope, my bad, or you're bad. We're going to suspend you for 2 weeks. So, hey, you know what? Doing the right thing doesn't mean you keep a job, folks. So,
and that's a week longer than last time, right?
What's that?
That's a week longer than last time, right?
Yeah, last time it was a week. And like I said, they mentioned something. It was, I'll put in, if somebody wants to put it in the chat, knock yourself out. But it was CD that was mentioned, even though I had mentioned it numerous times before, mentioned that. And then all of a sudden, that interview with Jonathan Otto got taken down. So look, as I said before, doing the right thing doesn't mean you keep a job. I was looking for a job when I found this one. So, and this isn't necessarily how I make a living. And like I said, YouTube doesn't pay us. I mean, I'm not getting anything. So look, if you can't find us here, go look on Rumble. They're going to dog you with ads or whatever. If the information is important to you, I mean, these days, I just don't know, but we're looking to make some shifts around here anyway. So, yeah, they can't have you hear any of this stuff, folks. So, I'll quit beating that dead horse, and I'm gonna go to the next one. So, here's some good news here on the homestead. Everything. Okay, we had some very, very, very toxic soil down in the high tunnel. We talked about it a couple of years ago where we were in a rush. We brought in some of that black cow. I was like, man, just fill them up. I don't even care, man. I know we can fix it on the back end. What I didn't realize, it was like Homestead Heart ended up, all this stuff was absolutely toxic, filled to the brim with Grazon, killed everything. You couldn't even start seeds down there. Folks, if I were to take you down there right now, your mind would be blown. You would think, oh my goodness, because what we did, and I'm just going to kind of, and this is what they don't want you all to know about. Okay, here's what we did. So we had all this toxic soil, and we're like, okay, over the winter, Michelle and I said, okay, we're going to do an experiment. And I think we briefly talked about it before. We had one bed, there's 14 beds down there. So we took one bed, used it as a control, didn't do anything with it. And all we did on all of them, just covered them up with carbon. And so the one bed with nothing but carbon on it, that was our control. So we had 3 beds with Dr. Will's product on it, 3 beds with our compost extract on it, and then the other 7 beds, we mixed them together. Folks, we got brassicas growing all up and down there. And son, which one, if you're going to have bug problems, which one is it going to be most evident in?
100% brassicas, because they thrive in that like in between stage on soil. They actually need like a relationship with actinobacteria, which is like a facultative bacteria that penetrates the roots and like directly injects nutrients into the plant. But it thrives, like it does best, in that kind of almost crappy soil. And if you have kind of almost crappy soil, then you also have like increased pest issues and stuff like that.
Right. So when you got brassicas out there and not one of them is touched or destroyed or anything, you got to be saying, whoa. And that's exactly what's going on. Everything down there is doing great, but the stuff where we mixed Dr. Will's stuff along with my stuff is absolutely booming. And over the last week, I don't know what happened. It's just on another level. So I can't wait to make that video, but you're going to have to wait 2 weeks to watch it. So it is absolutely blowing up. And we got some experiments going on where we're doing some, a thing with Dr. Jack Cruz. Well, not with him, but recommended by him using deuterium depleted water. Very expensive experiment, but we're going to give it a shot and find out how things do in deuterium depleted water. And my hypothesis is it's going to do better. So we're going to find out, and we're going to let everybody know how that pans out. But I'm going to wait and show you the video when it happens. But yeah, folks, they can't have you see this stuff. They can't have you see that all of this awful soil. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this program, is what FEMA doesn't want you to know about soil contamination. And folks, anyway, long story short, over the winter, we basically every week we applied this stuff in the measures I was just telling you about. And now it is on another level. I mean, brassicas that are absolutely, booming out there. No pest problems, no nothing. And we couldn't even start seeds in that thing last year. So look, y'all, these methods work, and they work beautifully. And I'm trying to come up with a decentralized way of extending this, what we know, to everybody else out there. I've just got to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's crossed, folks. I know folks are waiting with bated breath to find out, but I can't jump the gun on this. I can't, because there are so many people out there. It's funny. There was a post on X where somebody was saying, they'll crucify you if you go 180 degrees against what the government's saying. And that's exactly what we've been doing this whole time. So nobody ever asked the government, when they said it was all cleared down by the river, nobody ever asked them for their report. But when we said it wasn't, they asked us for ours. I mean, does it tell you how backwards society is? And now we're showing, son, with Dr. Will's test out there when he was just recently here last Tuesday, we showed that the area we are working in is clean as the Board of Health, but everything around it, absolutely awful. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe by making that announcement last time is the reason why they came down on us like they did. So, because the reasons they're giving just don't make any sense. But anyway, things are blowing up, and man, even the bees. Folks, pray over your property. I mean that in a big way. I mean, every time I'm out here, and when I have my little alone time every day, which I think it's important to have, as I'm doing my rebounding or whatever, or I'm going for a jog or whatever, I'm asking the Lord to bless everything. I ask him to bless the bees, the sheep, the chickens, you name it, the soil, every blade of grass. And right now we got, son, you've never seen this place like this right now. Every tree has apples, pears, peaches, plums, you name it. Everything is absolutely blowing up right now. And it's looking fantastic. So we missed that last frost. So now even the early things are really, really doing well. And we're even going to have to add another super to the bees already, even probably the ones we just captured, because now those guys.
Wow.
I mean, I can't even believe how well things are going. And then here's another little thing. So that area, we had that patch of silvergrass that was under the power lines around here that was going up. Okay. So I've never been able to graze the sheep over there, ever. Well, I've been able to do it because, once again, folks, we put that soil first. I chopped down that silvergrass. Remember, it hates a highly bacterial environment. Chopped it all down, did a little bit of seeding, but mostly carbon, and hit it with the extract and everything else. And now, for the first time ever, the sheep are absolutely grazing up there. And so that's another thing that's going up right now. And the only big thing that's troublesome that's going on, well, they keep dropping this garbage from the sky that everybody is aware of, at least the people in this podcast you're well aware of. I'm just wondering, first of all, I couldn't even believe we crossed the finish line out there on that site with them constantly chemtrailing. And that's another thing that was better. I can't even believe I'm having to say this. That was another thing that was actually better under Biden. Every single day of Trump's administration, in this new administration, we've been sprayed every single day. And folks, if you think it's a blue sky up there, it ain't. It ain't. They're spraying at night. It's like off-color blue, but people think, oh, we got a blue sky. No, you didn't. You don't know what blue looks like. I recorded it when I was over Ben and Denise's house when we were doing that barn raising. That's what the skies looked like for 30 days following that hurricane, but nobody was ever looking up. But I got it on camera. That's what blue looks like. It hasn't been that blue since those 30 days after the hurricane, and every single day they've been spraying. And not every single day, but there's a channel on Twitter called Into Thin Air, and there's another one I can't think of the name of, and they go on about the next rad radar towers. If you're feeling anybody in the Southwest feeling sluggish, like you can't seem, not just the Southwest, the whole eastern side of the United States right now, being hit with next rad radar towers nonstop. And one of the problems is lack of sleep. They've been discussing this in great length. Lack of sleep, lethargic all the time. I mean, you just can't seem to make your brain work right. If anybody's feeling that, well, the reason why is because they're not only dropping this garbage from the sky, but also the next rad radar towers work in tandem with it. And to my knowledge, we're the only ones. Son, how is it out there in Texas? I mean, what's the weather like?
Yeah.
What's the skies look like there?
The past 2 days, it's been like a weird haze. Like usually the haze, if there's a haze around here, whether natural or, manufactured, you can look horizontally, like you can look out in the distance, and there's actually a house that's a couple 100 yards down the road from me that I can look at and kind of use as a gauge. And if it's hazy outside, usually it's hazy in between us and that house. Past couple days, it hasn't been hazy between us and that house. But if you look up, it's like everything is super hazy up in the sky. Like it honestly reminded me of the solar eclipse last year, I believe. Like right before the solar eclipse, like that transition period until it gets to the eclipse, like it looks like the sun's on a dimmer, honestly. Yeah. And that's exactly the way it's looked the past 2 days. It's like super hazy, but it's like a layer right above us. It's not like horizontal if you look out towards something, only if you look up. And all of yesterday, like you could really tell it when you would look at the shadows on trees. You know how they're not as pronounced whenever it has like a haze or something. That's what it looked like. But according to the Weather Channel, perfectly blue skies yesterday and today up until just like a couple hours ago. But it was hazy yesterday. It was hazy today. They were claiming the humidity was only 50%, but it's like you can go out and tell that, hey, it's way higher than 50% and stuff. Like if I bring my phone outside from inside air conditioning and I bring it outside and it starts creating condensation on the screen and everything, that the humidity is higher than 50%. Also, 50% is a pretty comfortable humidity. That's one of the cool things about Earthships and using Adobe on the inside of the house is that it regulates 50% no matter what. No matter if you're in a humid environment or if you're in a dry environment, combination of plants plus the Adobe, it regulates 50%. And it feels just way higher than 50% outside. But yeah, they're doing something. I don't know. We're supposed to get some storms here, I think, starting Saturday. We'll see if the percentages change or if the chances increase or anything like that. But the past 2 days have been odd.
Well, it's funny because Eric Sider sent me a text a while back saying, man, every time I go out in the sun, man, I feel like I'm just being cooked. And then Dane Wigington was talking to me. He called me up and he was discussing. I talked to Dane so much, I can't remember when it happened or if he was even talking to me, but he was describing that what they're dropping out there, if you can look up in the sky, like at the sun, and then you see like what almost looks like a rainbow, well, it's creating a lensing effect, and it's absolutely making the UV, if it's like 9 or a 10, like it was today, let's say, at midday, it's actually more like maybe a 15 or 16. And that's why people like Eric's like, dude, you can't even walk in the doggone sun. And that's why, because it's creating a lensing effect, and it's cooking the people down below. Now, Neil is saying that, it's being done globally. Well, Neil, not exactly. Let me explain something. And I would love for some intrepid researcher out there to go do the work, because honestly, I don't have the bandwidth. And number two, when I have tried, Strangely enough, none of the chat GPTs or anything like it, or that Grok or anything else like it, will let me do the research to find this out. But I will bet you $1 to donuts. First of all, when you say it's being done globally, got news for you. It's not happening anywhere south of Texas. Mexico, all of Central America, South America, they're not spraying down there. They're not getting hit there. I mean, you can check out all the expats on X and everywhere else. They'll tell you. In fact, some of the people I know that live there, they talk about it all the time. They're like, dude, it's not happening down here. But I made this hypothesis a little while ago, and I would love if somebody were able to do it. I'm not the most technically gifted person in the world, but I am good at seeing patterns. Okay, I talked about the Deagle report. I will bet you $1 to donuts that the issues that were discussed in the Deagle report, with these massive population die-offs and then some places where they aren't happening, guess what? They're not spraying over Russia either. If I will bet $1 to donuts, if somebody were to do this research, here's what you're going to find out. That in all of the Western countries, all of them that are being sprayed, incessantly right now, I will bet $1 to donuts that you'll find out that there is a correlation between the Deagle report and the countries that have these massive die-offs and the countries that are being sprayed incessantly. I will bet any amount of money that you will find a correlation there. But every time I've tried to do it, ChatGPT, none of the others will let me. They will not let you do the research on it. And I don't have the bandwidth, or even, frankly, I just don't have the time. I can't spend a day in front of the computer, folks. This time of year, I am moving all day long. And in fact, when I do this podcast, it's one of the rare times I can actually sit down. So no, Neil, it isn't actually being done globally. I guess to a certain extent it is, but it seems to be only the Western countries that correlate with the countries that have these massive population die-offs in the Deagle report. And it isn't being done anywhere in Central or South America, to my knowledge. So
it was so hazy. It was so hazy yesterday that I could actually stare directly at the sun and not have to squint or anything like that. But perfectly blue sky. It was that bad yesterday.
Yeah. Well, Matt's asking, where do I get these donuts? Yeah, certainly not for $1, right? The little bag of white donuts that you get, I used to get when I was a kid. I better not say that too loud, or Ben over at Renewed Homestead is going to knock me over the head, and we're going to have to handle our sugar cravings. I'm off of sugar again, so yeah, until I see Ben again, and then we're just going to lose it together, I guess. A lot of people want to go to town or go to a bar or whatever. Me and Ben will just lose it together with some a case of good soda and some donuts, I guess. Anyway, yeah. So RFK Jr. is making a little. I'll just kick it over to you, and son, I just want to say this last little thing here is that he seems to be making some waves out there in Congress. Does anybody find it curious that he didn't mention the biggest elephants in the room? The things being dumped out of the flipping sky right now, and also the thing that everybody took in their arms, and how we got people just dropping. Like nothing you've ever seen before. And he's in front of Congress and everybody is lauding what a great job he did. You didn't address the two biggest. You got an entire room full of pachyderms and you didn't discuss any of it. So, yeah, the guy's a skunk to me until I see otherwise, along with everybody else in this administration. And hey, if you think I'm a Democrat, you are out of your flipping mind. I'm not a Republican either. That's why I'm the persona non grata. Son, how's things in your area?
Pretty good. Other than the weather, the weather's just been super odd lately, but just trying to catch up since getting back from Midwest preparedness and everything. Still catching up on emails, and because I had that one video I put out were like 4 compost ingredients that we're all wasting. One of them was one of them was a bottle of urine, and it was blue because I take methylene blue. I didn't realize that was a freaking political statement. People lost their minds over that, and then. Since people were already mad, I put out a video. So the video that's up on screen right now. Hey, William, this is from R. Moody. Hey, William, think you've done a good job on the first video on good and bad. I really don't think some of the people should get their feelings hurt that easy. Yeah, I put out a video talking about the good and bad YouTube channels. And then if you haven't seen it, I put out an apology video today. Wink, wink. It's interesting. Go ahead and check that out. But yeah, and the kind of the way I view it, and the way I'm kind of like, some people were upset that like they agreed with me, but they were upset that I called out the bad videos. Now, think about this: like, if I'm walking down a trail and we're all like walking in line down a trail, we're going on a hike, and I see a snake off to the side of me, and I don't say anything to you guys, and then somebody behind me follows me and gets bit by that snake, it's my fault you got bit by that snake because I saw the snake and I didn't tell you guys. Like, that's kind of the same doggone thing. Also, let's look at it this way. If I just put out a video, and just like, this is human nature, if I just put out a video talking about the good channels, like some good channels that everybody should watch, nobody would click on that video. Or I wouldn't say nobody, because a lot of you guys would have clicked on the video, but like a smaller fraction of people would have clicked on that video. But by calling out the bad guys at the same time, everybody wants to see the train wreck. So I was able to get more light on some of these other channels that have fantastic information. Like with the channels that I shouted out yesterday, and or not yesterday, the day before, and then the channels that I shouted out in the video that I just came out with today, like, you could get a full-blown homesteading permaculture education just from those channels. So yeah, a lot of people want to get upset. And also there were some people that clearly like, they're clearly living vicariously through like the Justin Rhodes channel, and they got on there, didn't even hear what I was making, the claims I was making or anything like that, and they just got immediately offended, which there are those people as well that like are typically, in general, just based off what you could tell from their YouTube accounts and stuff, that like they're an older, maybe 50s, 60s-year-old woman. The parents left the kids left the house. Nobody's really giving any attention to them. They're living vicariously through some other YouTube channel, and they're completely in love with the soap opera that they see on YouTube. I called them out. Get over it. And just because permaculture is, turning problems into solutions, if anybody has that big of a problem about it, we can, I talked about this in today's video, we can get in an MMA cage. We can fight about it, and all the proceeds from the ticket sales and the pay-per-view sales, online views and stuff like that, all the money can go to what is it, Caleb House, which is, they go and rescue children from trafficking and abuse and all that stuff. So if anybody wants to fight about it, I'm more than welcome. I'm more than open to do it. I did say, like, Patera and that other one, Park Rose Permaculture, not fighting women. So if your husband wants to step in, or some other proxy, you're more than welcome to step in with them. But yeah, there's a solution. How mad are you about it, really? how mad are you about it? So I would also like if we could get Pat Miletich involved, and he could maybe ref. I don't know. People would buy tickets just to go see that dude.
Yeah, man. We could absolutely raise some nice money for Caleb House, man. That would be great. I offered before. I mean, I made the offer before to Justin Rhodes that I'd be willing to put him through a 5-minute flurry of fists, man, and we can raise money. Of course, he didn't want anything to do with that. But I'm like, yeah, dude, we just go in the cage. We just go until somebody goes to sleep. And I mean, who wouldn't pay for that? People would spend, I mean, we could raise so much money. In fact, if we raised that kind of money, I would let him knock me out. No, I wouldn't.
Oh yeah. No, I'd be fine. I'll take a beat and I'll fight everybody back to back if it means that we get to raise this money for Caleb House.
Yeah, I'm with that, man. Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, man, people want to be lied to. They want to watch a bunch of fakery and all this other garbage. That's what's going to happen. I was proud of you, man, for calling them out. And I know we did stuff like that before, but yeah. So what they realize is that the algorithms basically favor people who are fear. And all of those people used to do homesteading content. So once they realize the algorithms favored that, then all of a sudden they fancy themselves as experts on this stuff, and they don't even do what they originally they don't dance with the people they came to the party with anymore. So, hey, I mean, if you want to watch that kind of nonsense, you go ahead and knock yourself out. But
and then also, like, look at the amount of effort that goes into filming like a farming or homesteading or gardening type video. Like, it requires you to actually do something. Like, you can't just sit in front of a camera unless you're like teaching maybe a permaculture principle or something like that. You can't just sit in front of the camera and then talk. Like, you have to physically go out and do something, interact with your homestead or your garden or farm. Whereas like the fear mongering type videos, it's much easier to read an article online, like a headline article, and then just talk about that on your YouTube video. And then you get to the point like Park Rose Permaculture, where you're putting out 5 freaking videos a day just with garbage, just talking about garbage. But given where she lives in like what, Portland or whatever, that's exactly what the content that they're looking into. And like, I don't understand what her channel even has to do with permaculture anymore. It's not. It's the fair share crowd that wants to keep talking about the social aspects of permaculture, and how they're wronged by everybody, but they're also the faction of permaculture that will never do anything productive.
Yeah, well, it's like somebody wrote on here. I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there too. Like Taylor says, Ben and Meg holler, and a couple of people out. Ben and Meg at the man from Holler Homestead are amazing. Yeah, I know Ben and Meg. Ben's a friend of mine, and you know what? They actually do what they say they do. Jason at Sow the Land, Renewed Homestead. I mean, there's a lot of people out there doing this stuff, and they're not doing the fear mongering garbage. Danny at Deep South. I mean, you talk about putting the brakes on somebody. I mean, they have done some really, really good work, and they still continue to do good work. But because they wake up too many people, they have to be suppressed. And none of them have gone, look, I could sit out in the porch. My most popular videos ever have been the ones where I sit on the porch. You ever notice what I do least of? I was thinking about doing them once a week, but now people do them every single day because the algorithm will favor something like that. You know what? I'm a farmer first, man. And if that's what I got to do to make a career in this space, guess what? I mean, I'm aware that I'm a guy that wears a lot of hats. I can make a living, do a lot of different things, and it doesn't have to be right here. Although I do thoroughly enjoy doing this podcast, and there's nothing I love doing more. When I say permaculture is my passion, y'all, it really is. This is what I do. But yeah, Ben and Meg actually feed their family with what they grow. I mean, we all don't grow everything. I mean, clearly I'm not producing salt here, but there's a lot of people out there actually doing what they say for the most part. There are some really, really awesome folks out there. And it's like, who is it here? Denise, it says the issue is too many don't realize they're lying to them, and they believe what these homesteads look like. Yeah, exactly. It's a serious disservice and unrealistic expectations. Touche right there. Because honestly, they get out here. I almost commented on a video that was made the other day to that point, and it was from, they live in Missouri. It's oh my goodness, they got a pretty big following out there, and man, the name escapes me right now. I don't have time to watch these folks, but anyway, I did. It popped up in my feed, and I had a couple of minutes. I was sitting out there with my shoes off, and I'm sitting there watching this, and they're talking about how, they were honest, saying, hey, yeah, we make our living making content for YouTube. I ain't that person. I'm not. And it shows in my editing. I mean, and even if I had good editing, I'm just saying I'm a farmer first, and my crowd are the people, the doers out there, the people who say, okay, just give me the information. I don't need all the fluff. I don't need this and that and this. That's who I'm making videos for. People who actually want to replicate some of what we're doing or give us good advice on how to do it better. But yeah, some of these people create, and without saying names or anything, you actually visited one of the most popular YouTube channels out there, and you're like, Dad, I almost kept riding down the road. Am I wrong?
Oh yeah. No. And like, I did an interview with them and stuff like that. And I was heading over there. My in, believe it or not, was my now wife. She went to a church at the time that these same people went to. But I almost passed their homestead because I was like, surely that dirt lot that I'm looking at can't be the same one that's on camera and everything. And I have no, unless you don't want me to, I have no problem mentioning them.
Nah, don't do that.
Okay. But yeah, and like so I'll say the wife is fantastic. The one aspect of the channel, she's absolutely awesome. But the husband is like a piece of work, and I would say like the husband is puppeting the wife basically. And I think that's more common than not on YouTube. When like on the husband and wife duos, I've noticed that same or similar pattern where like the wife might have fantastic intentions, But then you look at the husband and he's like, oh man, if she puts out 3 videos a week and she gets minimum 50,000 views per video, then that means I get to buy a boat this summer and stuff like that.
And that's what they told you exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly what they did, and that's exactly what they told me. But yeah, and then some other people, like, whenever they film a video, it's very clearly, like, once you start paying attention, you start asking questions, it's very, very clearly like a film set. It's not where they live. They live down the road in suburbia. Also, like, another channel that I mentioned this before, like on the YouTube video today. Like, I've heard, and I haven't confirmed this myself, so keep that in mind. But I've heard that, like, people like Full Spectrum Survival. You would think he'd be super focused on preparedness and living that preparedness lifestyle and being squared away as far as that goes. But I've heard on multiple accounts that ain't the case. And I think you'd be shocked about how many YouTubers are that way. They find something that's popular, that they follow what's popular, they make out content about that, usually something that requires them or allows them to sit in a chair and make content. And yeah, that's what it is. There's a lot of grifters on YouTube. And remember, there's no filter to check validity. Like, anybody can film themselves, edit it, and upload it. So there's no, like, filter to see if these people are legit, like you would on, like, a TV. And if they're not legit, then, you know, the producers try to help hide that and everything. But yeah,
well, it's like Denise said.
Self-edited.
Yeah, but it was like Denise said, is that it creates an unrealistic, for anybody seeking to do this lifestyle, it creates an unrealistic expectation of what it, you know. I don't know anybody who really does this place that has this manicured homestead. There is not a homestead out there that doesn't have junk piles and multiple junk piles. It does not happen. And it creates this unrealistic expectation that everything has to be tidy and neat. Go to Polyface. Joel has junk piles everywhere. I mean, that's how a farm is. You don't just throw anything away, man. You may need it for something. So you have piles over here, you got piles over there. I mean, it's not this antiseptic thing, and it creates an unrealistic expectation. And they think all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. Look, man, I've been at this for so long. I can tell you when somebody's legit 9 times out of 10. And then, by the way, somebody said, yeah, it was Living Traditions that was saying that. I don't know Kevin and Sarah. I don't know them personally. I've heard good things about them. But, you know, that's what they were saying, that they make content for YouTube. That's how they make their money. I'm not that guy. That ain't me.
And that's fine if you are that person, though.
Yeah, but
that's perfectly fine.
I felt like they threw the net a little bit too wide. Like, hey, man, I hope you're not including me in there, because I'm not that guy. I'm not that cat. We actually grow food. We actually do this stuff. This isn't a sound stage where we just roll in. I mean, everything I'm telling you we do. And so, I mean, this is my passion, man. I don't understand these folks. I don't know why you got into it, man. If it was just man, I guess, man, we're going a little sideways here. So,
on a happy note, I do want to say, on a happy note, that there are far more, in my experience, there are far more good and honest, like, homesteading channels than there are, like, the fake ones.
I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. I mean, no, and from my experience, there's a lot of people out there that are more polished than spit and more glitter than grit. I mean, you take, for example, some of the best people that are in this space, they don't have YouTube channels. A lot of the best, I mean, like Steve out here, man, when that hurricane came through, I mean, he was out there eating right off his land, dude. You know, could have lasted forever in a day. And there's a number of people out there doing the very same thing, but you never hear about them. They never get a spotlight. They never, you know, I'd love to be able, if I can never get 2 minutes to rub together, I would love to put the spotlight on some of these folks and let folks know what they're doing. There are some legit folks out there. Appalachian Ways, man, they're knocking it out of the park. And there's a lot of other people doing it too. But I cross that third rail because, you know, I throw in, people think, well, just stick to what you know. Well, I know politics too, you know. I know some other things as well. I know the esoteric. I know I'm not a myopic person, and nobody is, or at least you shouldn't be. And so I throw those other things in there because it's what interests me. And because I'm being honest about what interests me, it means that when I go to a festival and I come across somebody like Steve, and he comes up, and just like that, he and his son Colin, man, we're sitting there talking, and we're like, man, where you guys been my whole life? And then you realize you got so much doggone stuff in common, but they would have never known that if I just if all I ever talk about is, what I'm doing on the farm, because I do where there's a lot of interest I have out there. I mean, it's come out on this show. It's the esoteric, it's the health, it's, the hidden history. It's all these different things. And it shows up on this podcast sometimes. That's part of why we did this podcast. So, yeah, there are a lot of people out there that are more polished than spit and more glitter than grit. But, yeah, there's a lot of good folks out there that are doing fantastic stuff, and you've never heard of them, or they have a very small following because they're just like me, and they're putting out the fact. They're like saying, okay, hey man, here's what's going on. Here's how you do this. It's a how-to channel. That's how I roll. And whatever comes in my cabeza, man, that's what I'm going to do a video about if I find it interesting or think that it might be helpful to other folks out there. So, yes, and I guess we won't take that any further, man. We probably chewed up a good piece of that show, so I'm going to knock out the good news. But let me go ahead and hit the advertisers right quick. Redemption Shield, 10% off with promo code PERMA. Remember, I'm G'd up from the feet up every program, and I'm spending so much time grounding these days, especially with all this electronic warfare that's going on. Yeah, I'm doing it more than ever. I'm even grounding my shoes, y'all. Check this out. I got this conductive tape. My chiropractor, when I walked in there the last time, he's like, dude, what's on your shoes? I'm like, hey man, I'm grounded at all times. He's like, say what? So I got this conductive tape that goes from the inside of my shoe all the way out. Now I checked it with a meter to make sure I was grounded, and it looks bizarre. It looks crazy. It looks weird, but I don't care, man. I'm grounded. But hey, when I take my shoes off, I'm using Redemption Shield. My feet are on that mat right now. Wave Watch, Billy 100 will get you $100 off that watch. Puts out all those awesome healing solfeggio tones and, whatever ails you. You just plug it into the watch and then it shoots out some frequencies. In fact, by the end of the month, I'm going to have on Dr. Laura Sanger, and she's going to be talking about, some incredible stuff about frequencies that you don't know about. All right. I wanted to remind you because Harvest Right reached out to me. They said their sale is going to end on the 31st. So if you need one of those, y'all, it's in the description box. We use that thing like it's going out of style, especially when this harvest comes through. Good night. Probably going to need some help harvesting some of this stuff, man. That's how much we got on these trees out here right now. Berries, berries, the trees, you name it, man. It is absolutely blowing up out here because we missed that last frost. But anyway, Harvest Right helps us get our harvest put away and it doesn't go bad, because there's no way on earth I'm going to be able to eat all this stuff, at least not right off. Also, Homesteaders United Jamboree, they got a show coming up, and you can go to their website and go check it out. If you want in on the early bird pricing, that's going to be $50 off with Billy 50. I'm not going to be there, but I am letting you know that it is available out there for those who are interested. So ordinarily I do the good news right now, but we've chewed up a lot of time, and I really want to get into this topic, y'all, because I think it's a profound value. But before we get there, let's go to my man, Eric Sider.
Hey, Eric Sider here with your Pimpcast tip of the day. Today's tip, CREAM. And I don't mean what you put in your coffee. The Wu-Tang Clan said it best. Cash rules everything around me. Cream. Get the money. Dollar bill, y'all. There is certainly more sinister motives going on behind the scenes, but on the surface, everything happening politically right now is a cash grab, pure and simple. The tariffs have nothing to do with American manufacturing. It's all insider trading. Who do you think gets the announcements before they go public? And even if they somehow did return manufacturing to the U.S., we don't want the jobs. There are over 400,000 open manufacturing jobs right now. You think this administration cares about illegal immigrants? Our whole economy is dependent on illegal immigrants. How much do you think food would cost if they were paying $25 an hour with breaks every 15 minutes? The construction industry is all illegal immigrants. It's all smoke and mirrors. War is the biggest moneymaker of all. You think supporting genocide makes any of us safer? We sell weapons to both sides and then sell the contracts to rebuild or mine all the resources. The economy is rigged against humanity. It is dependent on environmental destruction, human exploitation, and hoarding of resources, the complete opposite of permaculture ethics. Stop expecting someone to save the system. We need a new system. Permaculture design is the system that creates a world of abundance and true wealth for all of us. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Eric Sider. If you're in need of permaculture t-shirts or remote permaculture consultation and design, head over to ericsider.com. And for those in the Sacramento area, check out my permaculture community group, permaculturefairoaks.org.
Bam! That's my dog right there, man. I didn't know if he was going to be doing a stand-up routine or what was happening, but man, boy, I'm rubbing off on Eric in a big way, dude. Hey, Eric, I better see a tan on you next time I see you, homie. Good night, man. I mean, boy, I don't know how anybody could disagree with any of that. I really don't.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, Eric knocked it out of the park. It's a good thing I was muted during that, or else you wouldn't hear anything he said. I was dying laughing.
That was like Wu-Tang Clan. I'm like really interested to see how he pulls this one together. And boy, that was very clever. And he's right on the money. I agree with every word. So yeah, shout out to Eric. And I'm wearing one of his shirts like I am about 90% of the time. If I got a shirt on, it's probably one Eric made. So yeah, folks. I mean, go check him out. Anyway, we're going to jump right into this. Like I said, we're going to leave out the good news section. Okay. What inspired this is clearly, like I said, we got the event, and I'm going to remind you one more time, Living Soil Foundation, May 18th, 249 Rollins Road, Marshall, North Carolina. We got another event this Sunday. It's going to be from 1 to 4 p.m. And, kind of an impromptu sort of thing. We're going to be planting more stuff, but also I'm going to be putting down this extract I keep telling everybody about. So, if you got questions about that or how you can do your version of it, I'll be there and answer. We're becoming something of, the truth is I didn't realize how much of my background when all this came down and we knew the level of pollution around here, I was reaching out for all these other experts out there. Some of them fancying themselves as experts, some of them doing classes and whatnot. What I didn't realize is that my background in soil science and all this other stuff absolutely put me in the driver's seat, along with William and Michelle, to be able to be in the perfect position to handle a lot of this stuff. I had no idea. I mean, it's amazing how the good Lord puts you where you need to be. And here, I think what we're doing this weekend kind of inspired this. So I wanted to cover the things that FEMA won't tell you about soil contamination, okay? And it also brought me back to something just recently regarding like the Fukushima Daiichi plant. Forget all about that one. If you're a young person, you may have never heard of it, but I haven't forgotten about it because it's still spewing radiation all over the Pacific right now. And guess what? Nobody's talking about it. Remember, for a while there, it was coming over the Pacific and it was landing all over California, Oregon, and Washington State, because that's where the winds were blowing all this stuff, right? And what did they do? All they did was raise the allowable rates of radiation in milk and in all the other products that they sell out of there. That's all they did. And John B. Wells, I mean, to his credit, Caravan to Midnight, if you want to check him out, he was the only one talking about it. And he's probably still talking about it, is that nobody's even talking about what's going on at Fukushima, and it's still unfolding right now. And all FEMA and all the rest of them do, they come in. I got news for you, folks. FEMA doesn't show up. Having spent so much time as an industrial electrician, believe me, I can tell you that FEMA doesn't show up until after the disaster happens. No matter how many reports were made to them, and believe me, I used to be one of those whistleblowers when there was something just unbelievably dangerous. Just a real quick story. I was working at the Iatan power plant. It was a coal-fired powerhouse in Iatan, Missouri. And it was this running joke that every single time I'd take a day off, man, some calamity would unfold. Well, it just so happens the day I took off, I was working in the bag house at this coal-fired powerhouse. And sure enough, in the area I was working, a crane dropped on it. I mean, and worse yet, this design of crane was known to blow over in storms and even moderate winds. And they knew this before it even happened. Well, turns out I wasn't there, but there was a guy there that had 2 small children and he died. It killed him. It's a miracle that it didn't kill more people. My buddy Louis actually performed CPR on him, and it was a pretty grisly situation as I understand it. So anyway, Louis, yeah, that's a very uncomfortable moment. But anyway, the man was dead, orphan, 2 little kids. even though FEMA knew from the very beginning that these things should not even be anywhere close to a work site. And to this day, they probably still have it roped off somewhere. They took the crane out of there and they roped it off and they pretended like they were going to do something. Well, here's what happens in terms of soil contamination. And I've learned a lot from Dr. Elaine Ingham regarding some of this stuff, but also some of my own research. So, William, feel free to chime in on any of this.
Yeah.
First of all, folks, let me tell you something. Most contaminated soil is never even tested to begin with. People don't have routine tests of soil or disasters unless it's a high-profile incident. Like I said, they don't show up typically until the disaster happens. Heavy metals, fuels, residues, synthetic chemicals. I mean, all of these things go undetected for decades, if not, longer than that. And we got proof after proof after proof after proof. So this stuff is never tested, and if they do lousy testing. They just test for the things they think they want you to know about. Son, you got anything to add to that?
Well, and they only test after something hits like national news. Like, think of all the minor spills that happen just in like some of your guys' small towns. Think of some of the minor spills that happen there that never really hits the news. It might hit the local newspapers and stuff like that, but testing never occurs afterwards. And then also after a period of time passes, people forget about that event. They start building houses on top. They don't do any kind of soil contamination testing before building houses or like schools or playgrounds or anything. And whenever they're bringing in fill dirt for these particular locations, they don't really ask, is this fill dirt like dug up from a contaminated zone? So there's plenty of times where you could be bringing in contaminated soil, heavily contaminated soil, into a playground to create some new feature because it's not tested. Most of these soils are not tested. And to be honest, we shouldn't have to freaking test these things. Like, we should just have like responsible practices or immediate like alerts made if there is a spill or something. Like, it really shouldn't be something that we have to deal with or manage or even have to be like cognizant of. But considering we live in the times we do, we have to pay attention to this. And this is stuff we have to do ourselves. FEMA only shows up in newsworthy situations. They showed up, and even then, when they show up, they don't really do much. Like after Hurricane Helene in North Carolina, they were doing more in Tennessee than they were in North Carolina. And where they were in North Carolina was Asheville, which, because of the road closures and everything, was 3.5 to sometimes 4, sometimes more hours away from the disaster itself.
Here's the next one, y'all. Their cleanup is focused above ground. Okay, this is critical. I can't think of that place in New York, but there was a school out there. Kids were getting messed up all over. Same thing around 3 Mile Island. I mean, they knew what had happened, and they only focus on the visible debris. Okay, burned structures, fallen trees, things like that. Restoring soil health and addressing what's in the ground is not even in their purview, and they're never going to do it. So that's why the work we're doing is especially critical. And, the help from all of you folks out there is especially critical because they aren't going to do it. So once again, it begs the question, why on earth are we paying taxes? I mean, these people, and it's like Bear Independent has said over and over and over again, FEMA is their main mission is continuity of government. Okay. It is not to go out here and do the work we're doing right now, even though we're led to believe that's what it is. Okay, Trump, you want to get rid of another one? There's one right there. You can always leave this stuff at the state level. Also they don't consider the fact that soil contamination can travel. Dr. Will spoke extensively, and Pat Miletich as well, at that one gathering we just did this last weekend.
Mountain Readiness.
And Dr. Will was talking about what's typically done, and Dr. Elaine Ingham has talked about the very same thing, is that what will they do? Son, okay, let's say there's a contamination, there's a spill right there. They'll dig up 10 feet of ground, put it in a truck, drive it across country, and dump it in the deserts of Arizona or New Mexico. That's exactly how they go about it. So, yeah, they which is the dumbest thing in the world when we know we can remediate just about anything right there on the site, and we're proving that we can. So floods, wildfires, and winds can cause toxins. I mean, depending on the source, I mean, especially ash and from burning buildings. I mean, it's going to contain lead, arsenic, all kinds of crazy stuff. They're not testing for any of that, and they don't care. Any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, also, like, especially when it hits the watershed. So just like heavy rain events after some sort of contamination event hits the watershed in North America, it typically hits the Mississippi or some other major river, and then it spreads the contamination that way and then into the Gulf, and then greater ecosystems and more ecosystems are affected and more people are affected just by leaving that contamination untouched, like with no attempt of remediating it. Now, on the flip side of picking it up and moving it, there's a thing called entropy. You're always going to lose some in transit. You're always going to lose some digging it up. You're going to lose some as soon as you put it in the truck. You're going to lose some on the way to the desert. And yeah, you're going to lose some whenever you're trying to drop it off in the desert. Now, the desert is probably one of the worst places to put it. Like, I'd much rather put contaminated soil in a heavy rain area like a temperate rainforest or something like that, or even like a tropical rainforest.
I'll give them no ideas, man.
But yeah, just saying, like, I would rather there be contaminated soil in some place where there's a lot of water cycling through, because what I can get done in like a quarter of a year in a rainforest is going to take me 4 to 5 years to fix in an arid environment, because there's very little water to work with. And it lasts way longer in arid environments. And also, guess what? Every desert has high winds. So it's hitting up, it's, throwing the dust up into the atmosphere and then creating rain events later, which is just going to spread the contamination.
Yeah. So the bioaccumulation in the gardens that's a silent killer if you stop to think about it. I mean, you know what? If FEMA, you want to go out there and do your job, well, why aren't they doing testing on all this aluminum that's falling from the sky? Dame Wigington was just in an interview, I think it was yesterday, as a matter of fact, with Dr. I can't think of her name. She's out of Florida. Anyway, Dame Wigington, I mean, my man's always talking about this stuff. Where's FEMA on the testing of all these chemtrails they're dropping? Because they're dropping aluminum, barium, strontium, all kinds of garbage. And what do you think it's doing? It's bioaccumulating in your garden. Particularly, your leafy greens and stuff like that. That's why we focus so much on compost, son. Why don't you explain the reasons why? I mean, that compost, what we're realizing, especially on this site out there, because these chemtrails are worse now than they've ever been. But we're finding out that even what we're doing right now is cleaning that up in a massive way. This is, I keep talking about it, the Lubka farm in Austria, right after Chernobyl. You know what? They couldn't get a Geiger counter going off, and they had brassicas all over that place, which means it would have been collecting these particles. It was unaffected then, and it's unaffected to this day. What were they known for? Biocomplete compost, windrow composting. So, son, what's that compost doing when we get toxins out there?
It like the microbes are locking up these toxins in medium and long chain carbonic acids, humic acids, fulvic acids, stuff like that. And then even some of these like archaea bacteria that you've been dealing with and stuff, that will completely dismantle it from on like on a molecular level. Now, real quick, addressing what Brenda is saying, FEMA's job is not to clean up the mess. They bring emergency supplies, food, bottled water, donated items, and temporary shelter. That's their job. Well, they weren't even doing that, but they also feel the need to go ahead and give the okay, all clear on some of these contaminated water sources or soil sources and stuff. So if like they're not doing what's supposed to be their job, and they're also working outside of their job limits of giving the okay on some of these locations, saying like, yeah, go ahead and bathe in the river. It's all right. It's clean. Now you're saying like, but each state gets $42,000 per person in federal relief funding to clean up the mess. If they aren't cleaning up, sue your state. I haven't met anybody who's even received the $700 loan that was talked about. You mentioned this before, and I don't know where this funding is coming from. I don't understand. I haven't met anybody who's received any kind of federal funding after going through the disaster relief.
Yeah, somebody's saying you keep saying FEMA, but none of it's their job. Okay, then what is their job? I mean, it's not. I mean, okay, what is their job? If I have personally called FEMA over and over on work sites in dangerous circumstances. Lopez Food, right there in Oklahoma City, when I was an apprentice years ago. They got these illegal Mexicans on the roof, and they were covering the holes in the roof with plywood. But according, nobody wrote hole, HOLE, on top of the plywood. Mexicans pick up the plywood. The dude falls through to his death, died right there on that job at Lopez Food. And they were called over and over and over and over again. My point, you're proving my point. I mean, what is their purview? I know it's continuity of government, but at the end of the day, these guys don't do anything. My point in all of this is that the larger point I'm trying to make is, I'm saying FEMA, I'm using them as a target, but at the end of the day, you can just overlay it with government. The government is doing none of this for you. For example, here's another one. Chemical herbicides are often left behind. Okay, they bring in these contractors, and of course, who do they have putting out these chemical herbicides? Every single time they spray under these power lines out here, who do they have doing it? 100% of the time, illegal Mexicans. They got them out there suited. You go out there to the truck, because I've done it. I've actually gone out there and taken pictures of the barrel that they're filling up their pump sprayers with on the back of the trunk, skull and crossbones, looked up the MSDS on it. You ain't supposed to be anywhere near. They got these guys working Roundup, and they don't care if they die. Look, you think they don't have families either? I mean, half of these vatos probably got 10 children that came over on an inner tube the Rio Grande with them. I mean, I don't know what's going on here, but at the end of the day, their lives mean something too. And
also, if you look at the immediate relief efforts that were going on with the NC DOT and the Tennessee DOT, the Department of Transportation, those are coveted jobs in that part of North Carolina and Tennessee. Those are things that, like, people are like, cool, I got myself a government job. That's stable. I'm getting paid well, stuff like that. They never go to illegals, because usually it's by, like, you're related to somebody that already has the job. They put in a good word for you and you get the job. The only people we saw working down in the bottoms of the rivers immediately afterwards, working in the contaminated soils and everything, were illegal Mexicans.
Yep.
And we were trying to, like, I remember we were at this one stop point, we're at this one checkpoint, and we're like, and we pulled over and we're like, hey, we're trying to get to, we were in a rush to do something, and we were part of, like, the aid relief. We weren't heading back from work, basically. And we're trying to talk to this guy saying, hey, is there any way you guys can, like, pause real quick so we can get to the other side? We're in a rush. We're trying to get something to somebody. And he clearly did not speak English. And we were like, supervisor? And then he pointed to a supervisor, and he very clearly did not speak English. That immediately, right there, it immediately came to me. I was like, they're using these group of people because they can't talk about who dies. And if they tell anybody, nobody around here speaks Spanish anyway, and nobody's going to know that this foreign workforce died. Now, just real quick, this is FEMA's own definition for what FEMA is. FEMA is the Federal Emergency Management Agency, a U.S. government agency responsible for coordinating the federal response to disasters and emergencies. Its mission is to help people before, during, and after disasters by providing training, guidance, and resources. FEMA supports state and local governments in their disaster preparedness, prevention, and relief efforts. They were not doing anything to help. What they were doing was, like, I can tell you one place in Burnsville right now where they dropped off a case of water, and it was in the middle of a field where nobody could easily get to it, and nobody was actually touching it either, because I think everybody was kind of sketched out by it. But the only thing FEMA did was set up base in Asheville. Also Johnson City, Tennessee. They had two different bases there. They would send a liaison to these different supply points, drop something off, something minuscule off, and then claim those supply points as their own official FEMA supply points. Cherry Grove in Tennessee, in Irwin, Tennessee, just outside of Irwin, Tennessee, was FEMA's #1 supply point, and they didn't provide a single thing to that place.
Yeah, so Tammy also says EPA. Yeah, you could throw that. I'm just saying government in general, folks. I'm just picking on the FEMA because I can't stand them. Like I said, they don't show, there's no prevention. And then honestly, folks, there was another time when you work in the kind of, look, for a long time, for a lot of years, I was an industrial electrician, okay? You name the place I've worked at it. I don't care if it's powerhouses. I don't care if it's, you name it. I've worked there. Food production facilities. It doesn't matter. I go in there, do the job, and then you move on. When you're a union electrician, this is what you do, okay? Unless you're haul trash like I was. So you work in tons and tons and tons of different places over the course of your career. So it's given me the benefit of working in a wide variety of places. I remember working outside of I was there a short while in a refinery in Wynnewood, Oklahoma. And they told us, hey guys, really watch out. I mean, this is during the safety briefing. Watch out, y'all, because it's easier for us to pay your death benefit than it is. I'm dead serious. They actually told us this, and I wasn't there long. It's easier for us to pay your death benefit than it is for us to upgrade this place. And they went on to explain that the fines from FEMA and the EPA were so embarrassingly low that the company didn't feel compelled to fix anything. I mean, you know, it wasn't uncommon in some of these places for a guy to be walking along with a bundle of conduit, and you know he's at a powerhouse. Let's say it's a coal-fired powerhouse, and these boilers, man, they're pushing out a lot of pressure. Walking along, and then the dude gets cut in half because they had a leak. I mean, it's stuff like that that absolutely happens. So yeah, it's government. But Shield Maiden for Christ asks asks a question here that's really awesome, but I don't know that I have an answer for you just yet, but we will. How long after applying a compost extract would I expect chemtrail toxins or old landscaping product residue to be locked up? I can't give you that because sadly, I got to tell you, it depends. It depends on the level of toxicity. We're working on finding the problem. Answering that question is a testing medium. Now, I can't send it over to Dr. Will every time I got a testing problem. So I'm working on ways to get around that. You know, the kind of extensive testing that we're doing right now with our engineers, I mean, that's $10,000 a pop. That's a lot of money. I don't care who you are, that's a lot of money. So to answer that, I mean, I'm going to give you a ballpark figure based on the area that we were working in, and it was highly polluted. The downside is that we did most of it through the winter months. The problem is that these microbes really don't become really active until the ambient temperature in the air is about 60 degrees. So I can't give you an exact, but all I know is that from December until now, that's about how long it's taken out. So I'd say 6 months is what it took in a highly polluted area. Now, to keep the chemtrail residue down to a minimum, I really don't know, but I'm hoping to do those tests to find out. But that was a really great question. I don't have an answer for you yet, but I hope to in the future. Anyway, William talked about some of these contractors that FEMA brings in. You know what, folks? When that that hurricane hit Puerto Rico, they wanted me to go over there. I could have worked for a FEMA contractor. Here's the kind of money you could make doing FEMA work. I was offered, and I remember the exact number, and this was during that Puerto Rico thing, that was years ago. I was offered $787 a day, plus another $200 a day if I brought my own truck. $787 a day. All I had to do was drop 3 generators a day, make sure they were operational, and get them up and running. $787 a day. That was for a FEMA contractor. So there is such a thing as disaster capitalism, folks. I'm talking from experience here, okay? I know guys that will go out here chasing these FEMA calls. Every time a disaster goes down, believe me, there's guys I know that salivate like Pavlov's dog because they know they're about to make a killing. And a lot of guys will bring their wives with them to work as their apprentice. And the reason why is that your apprentice gets half whatever you make. So if it was $787 a day, your apprentice gets half of that. So you can make a lot of money doing this stuff, and you don't have to do much work at all. So, and most of it was tax-free. So anyway, they hire these contractors, they bring them in, and they leave by all kinds of herbicides, for, let's say it's vegetation or control. They make the problem worse. Just like Steve was saying a minute ago, Viva brought nothing but, predatory behavior to his area. Well, that's what they do also. Plus, a lot of the burning that goes on, the PVC, the vinyl siding, the plastics. Look, every time you burn plastic or insulation on wires, you're leaving behind dioxins. Okay. I wish I'd have known that years ago because we used to burn the insulation off these wires when I can't even imagine the stuff we were exposed to take it in the copper, years ago when I was an apprentice. The apprentices back in the day used to get all the copper. So we'd burn it off and take it in, but I didn't know what I didn't know. Not at those times. I mean, I was pretty young at that time. Anyway, those compounds persist. And here's a big one here, son. I want you to weigh in on this one. There are natural, cheaper cleanup options than what they offer. You don't have to go out there with a backhoe 9 times out of 10. You can do exactly what we're doing. I mean, they won't tell you that there's micro-remediation, phytoremediation, biochar. I mean, all the things that we're using in our compost, extremophiles, or archaea, as William was saying, same thing. It doesn't, most big contractors out there, they're not equipped to do this stuff. I mean, this is as laissez-faire an approach to fixing a problem as you could ever hope for, but FEMA's not down for that. What would you say to that?
It requires, like, the solution to a lot of these issues requires shockingly little, like, money. And in fact, if I were to pay for anything for the remediation, it would largely be somebody to go and retrieve and to grow some of these archaebacteria or extremophiles. That could be like a set job in and of itself. And then also labor to make, maintain, and flip compost. And then you could clean up all the soils in the world fairly simply after that. And it would just be like, you wouldn't be buying, like, there wouldn't be a whole lot of there wouldn't be management, there would be education, there wouldn't be a whole lot of management involved. Or I mean, really, you could make a ton of compost with really just 2 employees. I know a guy over in Oregon who's making like hundreds of yards of compost by himself. There's that. And I mean, he's using like equipment to turn and flip and everything, but like a lot of the compost materials are just straight up waste streams. Like, it's lawn clippings, it's fungi blocks, like spent mushroom blocks from like mushroom growers, it's animal bedding, used animal bedding, cow manure. Like, what else were you doing with the cow manure? Nothing. You're just gonna let it decompose in place. Like, the price to get in is shockingly low. Really, the only thing that you would have to pay for, if we're doing it like on a larger government type scale, is just the labor to actually make the things and then apply the extracts to the soil. And then, I mean, maybe another thing is like somebody to test the soil, the contamination in the soil and stuff like that. But the solutions are shockingly simple. And really, like, everybody at home could clean up their soil at their home pretty easily.
Yeah. At the end of the day, their silence is liability driven. Think about it. FEMA avoids highlighting soil contamination because it would open the door to liability claims, and it's cheaper for them to act like the problem doesn't exist. Remember what I talked about in the beginning? Fukushima Daiichi was happening over there. Okay, it's still happening. It's still happening. And instead of addressing, hey, we need to get this thing figured out, we need to work on this. No, what do? They just raise the allowable standards. And of course, nobody in the mainstream prostitute profligate media is telling you that. It's people like us, people that are working on the fringes, people that are being, silenced or deplatformed or whatever the case. Those are the loudest voices there. And of course, the mainstream doesn't hear it. But yeah, it would open the door to massive liability claims, and they can't have that. They can't have you like that train derailment that happened up in Ohio. They can't go into any detail on that. They can't talk about any of that stuff because at the end of the day, it'll open a bigger door. And then it also finds out that it's a group of, if I could pick 20 of the people I know around here and FEMA were to pay us to say, okay, we need you to clean up Western North Carolina. Okay. Let's say we're being paid by the government. Here's our budget. We could do it. And whatever budget they allowed, I promise you, we could do it for about 1/100th of what they would give us with almost no impact, no negative, if not almost, with zero negative impact to the environment. Zero. So, and using waste streams to make the compost. That's even crazier. So, folks, if you didn't realize that, I mean, compost is pretty magical stuff. And if you want to come out this Sunday, May 18th, I've talked about it before, y'all. The things that they were doing over there at the Lubka farm, we've refined it a little bit in Austria, where they were downstream of Fukushima. I mean, not Fukushima, but Chernobyl. To this day, you can't get a Geiger counter to go off. And we're going to use the very same methodology that we did right here, combining our stuff along with Dr. Will's. And I'm going to show you, if you're interested, I mean, we're going to be planting some stuff out there. And, I feel really good about this one this time because I know the soil is clean. Okay. I know based on the testing, the preliminary testing that we've done so far, is that you could literally stick your tongue in the soil and you would be absolutely fine the way it is right now. But yeah, Shield Made for Christ, I mean, that was a really good question. And that's one of the things that we're going to find out is exactly how long does it take. It's going to be hard to measure that sort of thing because I don't know that we can just single out. All I know is that we can say, okay, we'll test a piece of bad ground. And then by using these methods, how long does it take when the ideal temperatures, when it's not ideal, I don't have an answer for that. But right now, this time of year and all through summer and even into the fall is the ideal time to get your stuff off and running, folks. This is why we talk about compost so much. This is exactly why the system, the powers that shouldn't be, you would think. So just think about this for a minute. Okay, imagine you're a scientist and you just had the Chernobyl disaster unfold right there. And the only place was the Lubka farm that was not damaged by it. Not from then, not now. To this day. Wouldn't you want to do everything humanly possible to send every scientist to figure out what are they doing on this farm? How are they doing it? How do we replicate it? And how do we get it out to as many people as possible? Wouldn't that just beg the question? I mean, you think people would want to do that, right?
Yeah, and I would be telling everybody I knew about it too. Like everybody I knew that knew about the disaster and everything. I'd be telling everybody, like, hey, I don't know what they're doing differently yet, but this area was completely unaffected. Was it because of some of their practices? It would be a full-time study of that place to see what they're doing differently. Was it just so happened like the wind streams and stuff like that are going around the farm? Like what's going on there? Or is it some of the practices that they have going on the farm? And how can we replicate those practices everywhere all at once immediately? That would be what I would do.
See, you would think that this is why your best school of thought is not a university, folks, because you would think at least one university on this planet was sent over a team of scientists saying, hey, okay, we got to look into this one. Let's go figure this out. But nobody's ever done it, not to my knowledge. And in fact, I think the reason why they steer clear of it is because there's a deeper, more sinister, I would say almost even diabolical thing afoot here. John Kemp talked about it. The problem is that if you were think about this, folks, this is a really big deal. If you got particles coming from a nuclear plant that's landing on this farm, and then you don't get a Geiger counter to pick it up, that immediately tells you that there is something transmuting the particles that are falling there. Mainstream science doesn't want to touch that because they don't want to believe that transmutation, they only want to believe that transmutation happens in a nuclear reactor. They don't want to believe that low energy nuclear reactions are actually happening in that soil, in your body, maybe in plants, all these things. They don't want you to know that, because if you did, you would find out, oh, hold on a minute. You mean to tell me I don't need Pfizer? You mean to tell me I don't need Merck? You mean to tell me oh my goodness, you mean we could absolutely have the cleanest, best nutrient dense food on the planet just by using what's already here? Oh, snap, we can't have that. Let's have these dummies go ahead and think that, McDonald's is filled with 98 vitamins and minerals or whatever. I mean, this is exactly why nobody has ever truly examined this place. But that's exactly what's going on. Look, I mean, I know people are reluctant to talk about this sort of thing. Look, I'm not even going to tell you that what we're doing is transmutation, but the junk ain't there no more. So how do you, so where did it go? Where did it go?
I guess I don't fully understand the controversy behind transmutation.
Controversy is that the mainstream does not want to touch it because they don't want to believe that low energy nuclear reactions are happening. For example, I got the book down on the coffee table downstairs. I can't even remember the name of the author right now, but
Biological Transmutation.
Yeah. And this guy was largely Crevon, that was his name. Louis Crevon, French guy, genius. Take, for example, okay, so you got an egg, a chicken egg, and they've done this experiment over and over and over again. So you count up all the calcium inside the egg, and then you count up the calcium that's in the shell. Okay. So when that chicken's born, the shell still has the same amount of calcium in it, but somehow this chicken's bones has calcium all over it. Where did it come from? Where did it come from? So let's just, for good round numbers, let's say it was 100 total. Okay. So let's say 30 of it was the shell. Okay, so you should have 70 left over that's in the chicken, but somehow when that chicken hatches, it's quadruple that. So where did it come from? So there has to be, he makes the case, and he used numerous other experiments to make that case as well. Now, he was largely laughed out of the scientific community because nobody wanted to believe it. You know what? Einstein was initially laughed at when he came up with the photoelectric effect. In fact, they didn't even give him the Nobel Prize for it until years later because he was so far ahead of his time. Well, maybe Louis Crevon was as well. Maybe a number of others were as well. Maybe we are as well. And that's why I read and I examine and I study all of these people that were marginalized in history. You know, you take one of the people I'm really examining right now. I got the book right here on the desk called The Body Electric, Robert O. Becker. You know why you haven't heard of him? He was twice nominated for the Nobel Prize. Of course, he's no longer on this earth right now. I got both. Well, I got the other book up here too, the one he wrote with Marino. Anyway, starting to dig into his work more and more. This guy grew back the finger of a child. Okay?
Dang.
Grew back the finger of a child. Did it back in the 70s. Twice nominated for the Nobel Prize, but they called him a complete wacko and a nut. You want to know why? Because he was talking about when all of this electromagnetic pollution that was going on, he says, man, this is going to be seriously deleterious to human health. And he proved it. And he proves that you got to have the right current in your body to be able to heal. That's why all of us are dealing with electromagnetic pollution diseases that are a result of that. Look, I'm not going to go too far. A point, I'll let you know more as I learn more from Becker's work. But the point being is that all of these incredible discoveries have been shelved. I mean, how many examples do you need of a person who has an invention for a car that runs on water? What happened to him? They murdered him. Okay. Or a carburetor back in the day that would get 300 miles to the gallon. Well, Ford, GM, the big three, they buy them up and put it on the shelf somewhere, but it's still out there. It's in the patent office. Anything dealing with energy, anything dealing with healing, anything that's on another level, folks, this is what they call a breakaway civilization. Not to go too far down here. I don't want to go too far afield in what we're talking about. We've gone quite long on this. But the point I'm trying to make here is this is why I study these people that are off the beaten path. Because the more I do, when I hear somebody laugh somebody off or they do an appeal to ridicule with regard to a person's work, it makes me want to examine it all the more. They say, oh, he was a nut. And then you ask them, well, why is he a nut? Oh, he was just crazy. Okay, that's another appeal to ridicule. Do you have any substantive argument as to why his information wasn't legit? And then you find out that this person, doesn't know anything. So that's exactly why I'm looking into the work of all these people with the hopes we can come up with more decentralized stuff and teach it where it's so ubiquitous out there, y'all, that I have to go back on my tools. Okay, well, I don't want to ever do that again. But the point being is that we make this information so pervasive, so out there that I get to the point where I can't sell comfrey anymore. Okay, because people no longer need it in their compost piles because they're growing it out there in their own places, where I can't give away a butchery class. Okay, because everybody knows how to do it. Like, okay, we do that already. Or I can't give away a compost class because everybody is making biocomplete compost on their own. This is the goal. This is why we did a show like this, and this is why I wanted to point the finger at FEMA and, I dare say all of government, because they are not the solution. Who do you think is responsible for dropping this garbage from the sky? It's the very same people that are sent to police it. You tell me how that makes sense. tell me how that makes any sense at all. Man, thank God for a sense of humor. Son, anything you want to add to this?
I think we covered it. Just on ending on the biological transmutation thing. I brought it up at Midwest Preparedness Conference, and people kept responding as if oh man, you're talking about that, as if it was like a fringe topic to talk about, and I didn't understand necessarily why. But I guess it is also the only thing that explains certain phenomena in the body and in plants and moving nutrients and stuff like that. So I don't know. I guess I didn't fully understand the. I guess it's a good thing I don't watch mainstream news sources and and information and stuff because I don't understand what's supposed to be a fringe topic or off limits and stuff like that.
No, that's exactly why that's precisely why some of these people moved. Like, for example, when they canceled, and they literally canceled Robert O. Becker, the guy that wrote Body Electric, when they canceled him, he was bitter about it for years. And they took all of his funding overnight, even though, I mean, you tell me, okay, you grow back the finger of a child, you think this would be everywhere. And he figured out how to do it. And the man was a flipping genius. Like I said, twice nominated for the Nobel Prize back when it actually meant something. And you take other people like Marino, you take other incredible, intrepid inventors out there that have done some astonishing stuff that will never see the light of day. I mean, people that have come up with free energy devices. That'll probably get me canceled. But anyway, people that have done this, they either come up dead, they get crazy inventor syndrome, where it's like my precious, like the like that ring.
Smeagol.
Yeah, like Smeagol, they wind up dead. I mean, these things have been existed, I mean, since the turn of the century. I'll probably have to do a show on that, like a show where I go into absolute detail of all the people that have been canceled. Bernice Eddy, in fact, some of the most consequential doctors, I know this is long, folks, but I'm just going to mention a couple more. Dr. Cruz has talked about her a lot. Bernice Eddy and Dr. Mary Sherman. I mean, all these doctors, and they were all females, by the way, at the time, that were the most intrepid, daring doctors in the world at the time, and they were all canceled at about the time JFK was assassinated. I mean, that whole story, the full extent of it, man, is really, really something else. But they were outside the box thinkers. Why? Because they were looking at people that were already canceled before them, and they said, hold on, everybody laughed this person off, but it seems like it makes sense to me. Let me examine it. And Dr. Mary Sherman and some of the others, like they were all canceled and murdered. There's a book called Dr. Mary's Monkey, which will blow your mind regarding what they were doing with cancer research once upon a time. But anyway, I know this has been long in the tooth. I want to thank everybody for sticking this out here. But look, at the end of the day, the solutions lie in your own backyard. And I'm going to try to find a way. In fact, I was just on the phone with T earlier today looking at how we can do a comprehensive compost class, because to my knowledge, nobody's ever done it where they show first, middle, last. William and I have done compost classes before, but I would love to be able to start from beginning, in the middle, we turn it out. What does it look like? What does it smell like? Because I swear, y'all, this is the answer to so many of our woes in our gardens, on our properties, with our animals, with so many things out there, folks. It's all out there. So I want to thank everybody here that came in live tonight. I want to honestly give a hat tip once again to all you wonderful folks out there that have given. Until next time, stay alert.
Stay alive.
That run deep, wisdom from soul, burn across your dreams, let the ideas unfold. I'm moving with the truth. Feeling nature's good. Who's got the answers? All we need to do, listen to the earth, they got us through. Let's see the change, watch the world spin. From the smallest sprout to harmony begin in the cycle of life, where the magic's alive. To the good.